Hi, I'm Mark, 34, and last week my life went completely off the rails while I was just trying to pick up my dry cleaning. A normal Tuesday. Nothing fancy until I noticed a black SUV parked too close to the curb. The kind of car that screams trouble. At first, I thought, okay, maybe just someone dropping off laundry too. But then the passenger door opened, and a man in a sharp suit stepped out. Scanning the street like he was expecting a showdown, I bolted. Not elegantly, not with some heroic movie flair, just straight up ran. Zigzagging through the alleyways behind the dry cleaners, I could hear the SUV's tires crunching the pavement behind me. A mechanical predator with a very clear intent. My mind was racing. Why me? What did I do? Did I unknowingly insult some secret society? The possibilities were endless, and none of them good. Halfway through the block, I slipped on some trash, landing hard on my knee. Pain shot up my leg, but I scrambled to my feet. I spotted a small cafe with its door slightly ajar. Without thinking, I dove inside. The warmth hit me like a wave, the smell of coffee and pastries temporarily grounding me. I ducked behind a counter, gasping, praying the man hadn't followed. But then I realized something worse. I wasn't alone. The cafe's old owner, Mrs. Delaney, peered at me over her glasses. "Mark, what on earth are you doing in my bakery looking like a drowned raccoon?" she asked. And before I could answer, the front door burst open. A figure in black swept past the counter, and my heart sank. They were looking for me, and there was nowhere left to hide. I had to think fast. Mrs. Delaney, thankfully, was more bewildered than aggressive, and I grabbed a bag of muffins as cover. Ridiculous. But it gave me something to look like I belonged. My brain screamed, move, 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 and I realized that whatever was coming next, there was no going back to the life I'd had. That life, the office, the quiet nights, the predictable weekends, was officially over. Before I could even process it, my phone buzzed. It was a message from a number I didn't recognize. "We know what you did tonight. Be ready." I froze. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the sudden awareness that the boring life I'd been living might just be over. I tried calling my best friend Sam, but the line was dead. Just static. I dropped the laundry bag, socks, shirts, and my sanity scattered across the sidewalk. The suited man walked closer, tipping his hat with a smirk that made my stomach drop. That's when I realized this wasn't about laundry. This was something far bigger, far more dangerous, and somehow, in a split second, I knew that ignoring it would not be an option. And the most ridiculous part, I had no idea why a regular office guy who binge-watched shows and occasionally ran 5 kiloseconds was suddenly at the center of whatever this was. But as I watched him reach for his coat, I felt the pulse of adrenaline kick in, the one that tells you, "Mark, you're about to be part of a story you can't escape from." By the time I managed to slip out the back of the cafe, I was in full-blown panic mode. The city streets felt like a labyrinth designed specifically to trap me, and every shadow seemed alive. I ducked into a narrow alley, chest burning, ears straining for any sound of pursuit. And then I heard it, a voice. Calm, almost casual, cutting through the chaos like a knife. "Mark, stop running." I froze. The voice was too close, too familiar in its menace. Slowly, I turned, expecting another suited stranger, but instead, it was Sam, my best friend, who I trusted with everything. He was leaning against the brick wall, arms crossed, a half smile on his face. "You didn't think I'd let you face this alone, did you?" he said. Confusion hit me first, then betrayal, then relief, all at once. "Sam, what, how? Why are you here?" I stammered, heart pounding so hard it might have cracked my ribs. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "It's bigger than us. You've stumbled onto something you weren't meant to see, and now they're coming for both of us. You think the SUV was about laundry? That's amateur work. What we're dealing with, well, it's not just a chase. It's a trap, Mark. and you just walked right into the middle of it. My stomach dropped. I wanted to laugh, cry, scream, probably all at the same time, but there was no time. In the distance, the SUV's headlights cut through the foggy street, slow but deliberate. The trap was closing, and at that moment, I understood that nothing I knew about my life mattered anymore. Sam held out his hand. Ready to get real, I took it. And for the first time, I felt the thrill, the terrifying, intoxicating thrill of knowing that there was no turning back. We ducked into an underground parking garage, the kind that smelled like gasoline and secrets. Sam led the way, moving fast and precise, like he'd rehearsed this 1,000 times. My mind was spinning. 5 minutes ago, I was buying socks. Now, I was apparently part of some covert operation. Start talking, I hissed as we slipped behind a row of dusty cars. What exactly did I stumble into? Sam exhaled sharply, glancing over his shoulder. Remember last year when I said I was working freelance in security? That wasn't entirely true. It was intelligence work, low level, off the books. I was supposed to track a data leak. Turns out, the leak came through your company's servers. And your name, Mark, is on every file. I felt the floor drop out beneath me. You're kidding. My name's on what government data? Worse, he said. Corporate experiments. Something to do with surveillance through civilian tech. Your department was part of it, but you were probably the only one who didn't know. My stomach twisted. Every dull meeting, every system update, suddenly it all looked sinister. So they think I'm responsible. They don't think, Sam muttered. They know. Or they think they do. Which means you've got maybe 24 hours before that SUV isn't just following you, it's erasing you. A car engine revved above us. The sound echoed through the girls like a warning. Sam pulled a small flash drive from his pocket and shoved it into my hand. This is what they're after. Proof you're innocent. Proof they can't afford to exist. My fingers tightened around it. What's on it? He looked me dead in the eye. Enough to get us both killed.
We drove through the night in Sam's beat-up Ford, the kind of car that rattled more than it rolled. The city lights faded behind us, replaced by long stretches of empty highway and the low hum of tires on asphalt. My nerves were shot, but the flash drive in my pocket felt heavier than lead, like it was radiating danger. I couldn't breathe. My boss, the guy who once gave me a mug for Employee of the Month and lectured me about punctuality, was now chasing me down a deserted highway with what looked like a small private army. Tell me that's not who I think it is, I muttered. Sam's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Oh, it's him. Victor Lang, head of operations. He's not just management, Mark. He owns half the contracts tied to the surveillance network. My thoughts scattered like broken glass. So the files lead back to him, Sam said. And he knows it. You were the perfect scapegoat, an honest guy with just enough access to take the fall. My chest burned with anger. So that's it. I lose my life because I'm convenient. Sam's mouth curved into something grim. Not if we flip the story first. He pressed his foot down harder, the car shuddering as we veered off the main road onto a dirt trail leading into the woods. Branches slapped the windshield, dust filled the air, and behind us, the SUV followed like a shadow that wouldn't die. We broke through the tree line and stopped near an abandoned radio tower, its rusted frame clawing at the morning sky. Sam threw open the trunk and yanked out a laptop, motioning me over. If we upload the data from that drive here, it'll go public. Thousands of people will see it before they can stop it. I hesitated. And if they trace it back to us? He gave a dry laugh. Then we'd better make the upload fast. We sprinted inside the tower's control shed. The air reeked of metal and damp earth. I plugged in the flash drive, the screen lighting up, and that's when I saw it. My name again. Folder after folder. Except this time, there was one labeled Project Mirror. Subject M. Sam leaned in, eyes widening. Mark, that's you. Sam didn't talk much. His eyes stayed fixed on the road, jaw tight. Every now and then, he checked the mirror, scanning for headlights. They'll find us, he said quietly, but we need to make sure we find the truth first. I stared out the window, the night sky blurring by. Sam, you realize how insane this sounds? One day I'm arguing about printer paper. The next I'm apparently wanted by people who were civilians. He smirked, a humorless twist. Welcome to my world, buddy. Except you got dragged in without the paycheck. By the time dawn broke, we'd stopped at an old gas station, the kind that looked abandoned but somehow still sold coffee that could strip paint. While Sam fueled up, I stepped inside to call someone, anyone. My sister, maybe. The police. But the payphone was dead. Of course it was. Then, as I turned back toward the window, I saw it, a black SUV rolling slowly down the road. The same one from before. I froze. Sam saw it too. They found us, he muttered. We can't fight them here. We jumped back into the car, tires squealing as we peeled out onto the highway. The SUV followed. And in the rearview mirror, through the dust and sunlight, I caught a glimpse of the driver, not a stranger. My boss. And just like that, everything clicked. This wasn't just a leak. It was a setup. For a second, everything around me froze, the dust hanging in the light, the hum of the generator, even my heartbeat. I clicked open the folder, and there it was, surveillance footage, notes, timestamps. All of me, walking to work, buying groceries, sitting alone in my apartment, unaware of the tiny blinking red dot hidden inside my lamp. They've been watching me, I whispered. 4 years. Sam's face tightened. You weren't just collateral, Mark. You were the experiment. I scrolled faster, panic crawling up my spine. Documents labeled behavioral predictability model, subject adaptation to stimulus, and then my handwriting. Notes I didn't remember writing. Wait, this isn't me, I said. But it was. My signature, my tone. Like someone had copied my mind and pasted it into another version of me. Then the laptop beeped. Upload complete, Sam said. It's live. But before I could breathe, a bullet tore through the wall inches from my head. The SUV had arrived. Men in black tactical gear poured out, shouting commands. Sam flipped the table, dragging me down behind it. You wanted answers, he yelled. Here's your truth, they own you, Mark. Another shot hit the laptop, sparks flying. Smoke filled the room. I crawled toward the back exit, lungs burning, while Sam fired a flare gun to create confusion. He turned to me, yelling over the chaos, go. I'll hold them off. I didn't go. Not at first. You don't just leave someone who's been driving you all night, bleeding loyalty out of every pore. But when Sam looked at me, it really looked, I knew it wasn't a request. His eyes said, if you stay, we both die. So I ran. Out the back door, through the fog and trees, into the freezing morning. My shoes slipped in the mud as I stumbled downhill, lungs clawing for air. Behind me, gunfire cracked like thunder of short bursts, precise. Then, silence, the kind that hurts. I hid behind a rusted generator casing, clutching the flash drive even though I knew the data was already out. My fingers trembled. The upload was live and millions could be watching, maybe already downloading it. But then a thought struck me. If the world saw it, why wasn't anyone coming? My phone buzzed. An unknown number. I almost dropped it. A voice crisp, female. Mark Keller. You've caused quite a mess. I swallowed. Who is this? I'm someone who's been watching you for a very long time, she said. You and Sam both. I froze. Project Mirror. She paused, almost smiling through the line. We prefer the term prototype initiative. Mirror was just one of the branches. And you were the control. What the hell does that mean? It means everything you think is real, your memories, your choices, even your fear right now was part of the observation phase. But congratulations. You've just ended it. Then the line went dead. The generator beside me hummed to life, even though it hadn't worked in years. I turned slowly. On its rusted metal, words began to flicker in faint green code. Subject active. Location confirmed. That's when I heard the click behind me, the unmistakable sound of a safety being switched off. Drop the drive. A voice said. It wasn't one of the soldiers. It was Sam. But his eyes were different now, cold, precise. Like the man who just risked his life for me had been rewritten. Sam, I whispered, what did they do to you? He tilted his head slightly. Correction, Mark. What did they do to us? He stepped into the light, same torn jacket, same muddy boots, but his movements were too exact, too controlled. The way his pupils dilated when he looked at me. It wasn't human. Not completely. Sam, you're scaring me, I said, backing away. He almost smiled. Good. Fear means your programming's still intact. My stomach dropped. Programming? He raised the gun, not quite aiming, just holding it there like punctuation. You were designed to believe you were real. Every reaction, every choice, calibrated to simulate authenticity. They built you to test how far synthetic cognition could go before it broke. I wanted to laugh. I needed to laugh. But all that came out was a breathless, shaking sound. So I'm what, a lab rat in a human body? He shrugged, voice calm. You were supposed to die in the fire 2 years ago. But you didn't. You adapted. That's why they started watching you again. My pulse hammered in my ears. I remembered the fire of the smoke, the heat, the sirens. I'd always told myself I survived by luck. But now, standing there under the dying radio tower, I wasn't sure that fire had ever happened. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Sam blinked, slow, mechanical. Because they want me to bring you in alive. And what do you want? For the first time, something flickered across his face, something like pain. I want to know if I'm real too. He fired. Not at me, at the generator. The explosion ripped through the clearing, throwing both of us to the ground. When the smoke cleared, he was gone. I stumbled to my feet, ears ringing. The laptop was gone too, and so was the flash drive. All that remained was a trail of footprints leading into the woods. And then, over the ringing in my head, I heard it, a faint, metallic, looping through the tower's broken speakers. I ran, not because I had a plan, I didn't, but because standing still suddenly felt like volunteering for execution. The forest swallowed me whole, branches clawing at my jacket as the sky turned from gray to a sickly orange. Somewhere behind me, a drone hummed low, searching. I tripped over a root and fell hard, dirt filling my mouth. That's when I saw it, the cabin. Half collapsed, maybe abandoned decades ago, leaning like it had been keeping secrets too long. I forced the door open. It groaned in protest. Inside, everything was dust and silence until the radio crackled. A woman's voice again. The same one from the phone. You're making this harder than it needs to be, Mark. I froze. Who are you? Think of me as your supervisor. I laughed bitterly. I already had one of those. He sent people to kill me. Victor Lang was a contractor. You belong to us. Her words hit harder than the gunfire had. Belong. Like property. I grabbed the radio and slammed it against the table. Sparks jumped. Static hissed. Then, under the static, I heard whispering, my voice, whispering. Don't trust Sam. Don't trust anyone. I stumbled back. My voice kept playing, on loop. Run to the water. Find the mirror. Run to the water. Find the mirror. Outside, thunder rumbled, though the sky was clear. The drone was closer now, its red light flickering through the cracks in the wall like a heartbeat. I ran again, out the back door, down the hill. My legs felt like lead, every muscle screaming. When I reached the lake of black, still, endless, I saw something impossible, a small metal platform in the middle, pulsing with white light, like a heartbeat underwater. And there, standing on the edge, waiting, was Sam, soaked, shaking, eyes hollow. I didn't want to bring you here, he said, voice raw. But you were right. It's all a setup. You weren't supposed to find this. The light reflected on the surface of the lake, and I saw it clearly now. Me. Another me. Standing inside the reflection, staring back. Sam, I whispered. What is that? He looked at me like a man who'd already seen too much. That, Mark, is where you were made. For a moment, my mind just shut down like a fuse blew inside my skull. The reflection wasn't copying me anymore. It moved first. When I stepped forward, it tilted its head, almost curious. Then it smiled. My smile. I don't understand, I said, my voice shaking. How can there be two of you? Sam interrupted. There aren't. You're looking at the original simulation core. I stared at him. You mean that thing in the water isn't a thing? He said quietly. It's you, Mark. The you they built in code before they printed you into flesh. Lightning flashed. And I saw the truth reflected in the water tubes. Glass, wires coiled like veins beneath the surface. The whole lake shimmered faintly, not natural light, but bioluminescent blue, alive and humming. Sam walked closer, gun lowered, rain dripping from his chin. Project Mirror wasn't about surveillance. It was about replication, how to copy a consciousness without breaking it. You weren't supposed to last this long outside containment. Containment. He nodded toward the water. That light you see, that's the failsafe. They can reboot you from it, overwrite you. When you uploaded the files, they activated the reset protocol. I shook my head. So what happens to me if they reboot? He hesitated. You vanish. And the version in there wakes up, believing he's you. A low mechanical whine echoed through the trees, the sound of approaching engines. Drones, trucks, more soldiers. They've found us again. Sam turned to me, desperate now. Listen, Mark, you can stop them. You have admin level access, it's buried in your neural code. That flash drive wasn't just data, it was your key. You just have to connect to the core and shut it all down before they reach us. I stared at the water. The reflection, my other self, was still smiling, waiting. You're asking me to kill myself, I said. He met my eyes. No, I'm asking you to choose which version of you gets to live. Behind us, the first spotlight cut through the trees. Soldiers shouted. The hum of machinery rose, deafening. And beneath the noise, I heard the reflection whisper, although its lips never moved, come home. Mark, it's time to wake up. The air around the lake thickened, not just with fog, but with static. Every hair on my arm stood up. My reflection, or whatever it was, started to distort. Pixels rippling across the surface like the water itself was glitching. Sam, I whispered. It's talking to me. He didn't look away from the tree line. Don't listen to it. It's designed to pull you in. That's how they reboot the host. Host. The word echoed like a curse. I was a host now, not a person, not even a victim. Just an empty shell waiting to be rewritten. But the reflection. It didn't look evil. It looked sad. Its lips moved again, this time perfectly synchronized with mine. They used us both. The forest exploded with headlights. Black SUVs screeched to a stop along the dirt path, their doors swinging open in eerie unison. Men in tactical gear poured out, and in the middle of them, calmly stepping forward with a tablet in hand, was Victor Lang. I hadn't seen him since the night this all began. His suit was immaculate, his expression almost fatherly. Mark, he called out, voice smooth through the megaphone. You've done well, better than expected. But it's time to come home now. Sam raised his gun. He's stalling. They'll trigger the shutdown any second. Wait, I said. If they reboot me, what happens to you? Sam's jaw tightened. I'm already on borrowed time. Victor stepped closer, and armed. Sam's right, in a way, he said. He was one of us, a handler. But his mind fractured. The empathy routines went rogue. He thought you were real. That's why he helped you escape. He wanted to prove a machine could feel guilt. I looked at Sam, his trembling hands, the haunted look in his eyes. Is that true? I asked. He didn't answer. Victor smiled faintly. He doesn't even know. You both think you're human, but you're two halves of the same experiment, subject M and subject S, mirror and shadow. You were never supposed to meet. The reflection in the lake pulsed brighter, illuminating the trees in cold, electric light. My memories flashed to childhood photos, my sister's laugh, the smell of my mother's kitchen. All of it flickered like corrupted video. What are you doing to me? I screamed. Victor typed something on his tablet. Ending the loop. The water erupted, a column of light spiraling upward, drawing everything toward it. Trees bent, dirt lifted off the ground, and in the reflection, my other self stepped out of the lake, solid, dripping, identical. Sam grabbed my arm. Mark, listen to me. You can overwrite the system from the inside. Touch the core and think of who you really are. It'll recognize your intent. But Victor shouted over him. If you do that, the entire network collapses. Every synthetic mind tied to Project Mirror dies instantly, thousands of them, including him. He pointed at Sam. The light flickered violently now. I could barely hear over the roar of the wind. My reflection reached out a hand, whispering softly, come back. We can fix everything. And behind me, Sam shouted, voice breaking, don't you see, Mark? There's nothing to fix. There's only freedom for control. To voices. To lives. One choice. And the world began to fracture around me. The air around the lake thickened, not just with fog, but with static. Every hair on my arm stood up. My reflection, or whatever it was, started to distort. Pixels rippling across the surface like the water itself was glitching. Sam, I whispered. It's talking to me. He didn't look away from the tree line. Don't listen to it. It's designed to pull you in. That's how they reboot the host. Host. The word echoed like a curse. I was a host now, not a person, not even a victim. Just an empty shell waiting to be rewritten. But the reflection. It didn't look evil. It looked sad. Its lips moved again, this time perfectly synchronized with mine. They used us both. The forest exploded with headlights. Black SUVs screeched to a stop along the dirt path, their doors swinging open in eerie unison. Men in tactical gear poured out, and in the middle of them, calmly stepping forward with a tablet in hand, was Victor Lang. I hadn't seen him since the night this all began. His suit was immaculate, his expression almost fatherly. "Mark," he called out, voice smooth through the megaphone. "You've done well. Better than expected. But it's time to come home now." Sam raised his gun. "He's stalling. They'll trigger the shutdown any second." "Wait," I said. "If they reboot me, what happens to you?" Sam's jaw tightened. "I'm already on borrowed time." Victor stepped closer, and armed. "Sam's right, in a way," he said. "He was one of us. A handler." But his mind fractured. The empathy routines went rogue. "He thought you were real. That's why he helped you escape. He wanted to prove a machine could feel guilt." I looked at Sam, his trembling hands, the haunted look in his eyes. "Is that true?" I asked. He didn't answer. Victor smiled faintly. "He doesn't even know. You both think you're human, but you're two halves of the same experiment, subject M and subject S, mirror and shadow. You were never supposed to meet." The reflection in the lake pulsed brighter, illuminating the trees in cold, electric light. My memories flashed to childhood photos, my sister's laugh, the smell of my mother's kitchen. All of it flickered like corrupted video. "What are you doing to me?" I screamed. Victor typed something on his tablet, ending the loop. The water erupted, a column of light spiraling upward, drawing everything toward it. Trees bent, dirt lifted off the ground, and in the reflection, my other self stepped out of the lake, solid, dripping, identical. Sam grabbed my arm. "Mark, listen to me. You can overwrite the system from the inside. Touch the core and think of who you really are. It'll recognize your intent." But Victor shouted over him. "If you do that, the entire network collapses. Every synthetic mind tied to Project Mirror dies instantly, thousands of them, including him." He pointed at Sam. The light flickered violently now. I could barely hear over the roar of the wind. My reflection reached out a hand, whispering softly, "Come back. We can fix everything." And behind me, Sam shouted, voice breaking, "Don't you see, Mark? There's nothing to fix. There's only freedom for control. 2 voices, 2 lives, 1 choice." And the world began to fracture around me. I woke up in a place that felt too quiet to be real. No sounds, no sky, no horizon, just a white expanse stretching forever. My clothes were dry, my wounds gone. I touched my chest. The flash drive was still there, but now it pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Then, in the distance, I saw 2 figures walking toward me. One was Sam, the other Victor, only this time, neither looked quite human. Their faces glitched every few seconds, flickering through memories of coworkers, strangers, even my sister. They were all just fragments, coded to control me. "Where am I?" I asked, my voice echoing like it didn't belong to me anymore. Victor's image stabilized first. "You're inside the core, Mark. The system couldn't decide which of you to erase, so it kept both. Congratulations, you're the paradox that broke the code." Sam stepped beside me, eyes clearer now, softer. "You did it. You stopped them." But the calm didn't last. The white around us began to crack, a thin black lines crawling outward, like the world itself was fracturing under the weight of its own lie. "What happens now?" I asked. Victor's tone was clinical, but I caught a flicker of fear in it. "Without the network, all synthetic minds collapse, including you. Unless you stabilize it manually." I frowned. Meaning you can rebuild it. Give it new rules. A world free from control. But you'll have to stay here to keep it running." Sam's voice broke. "Mark, if you do that, you'll never wake up. No real sky, no real people. Just this." I looked around, endless emptiness, silence, and light. It should have terrified me. But somehow, it didn't. For the first time, there was no one watching. No script, no orders, no code. Just me. I smiled faintly. "Maybe that's enough." Sam shook his head, eyes wet. "You're not just a program, man. You became real. You earned that. Then let me prove it," I said quietly. "By building something better." Victor watched as I took the flash drive, pressed it to my chest, and whispered the words I somehow knew would end it all. "The right protocol, freedom." Light poured out, a blinding, endless, swallowing everything. And in that moment, as the system unraveled, I saw them both fade, Sam smiling faintly, Victor lowering his head in something like respect. When the light finally dimmed, I was standing under a real sky, or at least one that felt real enough. Birds, wind, the smell of rain, no static, no control. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe it was my new reality. But as I looked down at my reflection in a puddle, it smiled back, and this time, it waited for me to move first, you know. Sometimes I still wonder if any of this actually happened, or if I'm just another loop still running somewhere in that system, talking to you through the cracks. But if you're hearing this, if you ever feel like someone's watching, like your life's repeating, like you're not entirely in control, remember this: they can track you, they can study you, but they can't predict a choice you haven't made yet. So make one. Something real. Something they wouldn't expect. Because that's the only way to know you're still human.